Helena Molony was a prominent Irish Republican, feminist and Labour activist. She fought in the 1916 Easter Rising and later became the second woman president of the Irish Trade Union Congress. Early life. Molony was born at 8 Coles Lane off Henry Street in the centre of Dublin. Her father was Michael Molony, and her mother Catherine McGrath. They ran a grocery. Ingwine na Éireann. In 1903, inspired by a pro-nationalist speech given by Maud Gonne, Molony joined Ingwine na Éireann and began a lifelong commitment to the Republican cause. In 1908 she became the editor of the organization's monthly newspaper, Bí na Éireann. Bí na Éireann brought together a nationalist group. Constance Markievicz designed the title page, and wrote the gardening column. Sidney Gifford wrote for the paper and was on its production team. Contributors included Eva Gore-Booth, Susan L. Mitchell, and Catherine Tynan, as well as Patrick Pearse, Thomas MacDonagh, Roger Casement, Arthur Griffith and James Stephens. The paper included an eclectic selection of articles, fashion notes, a Labour column, cookery, politics, fiction, poetry. Molony was central to the school meals activism of the movement, with Maud Gonne, Marie Perrault and others. She organized the supply of daily school meals to children in impoverished areas, and pressured Dublin Corporation and other bodies to provide proper meals to the starved children of Dublin City. Republicanism and Labour. Molony also had a career as an actress, and was a member of the Abbey Theatre. However, her primary commitment was to her political work. She was a strong political influence, credited with bringing many into the movement, including Constance Markievicz and Dr. Kathleen Lynn, who wrote, "We used to have long talks and she converted me to the national movement." She was a very clever and attractive girl with a tremendous power of making friends. As a Labour activist, Molony was a close colleague of Markievicz and of James Connolly, whose secretary she was for a time. In November 1915, Connolly appointed her secretary of the Irish Women Workers' Union, in succession to Delia Larkin. This union had been formed during the strike at Jacob's Biscuit Factory that was part of the 1913 Dublin lockout. Molony managed the union's shirt factory in Liberty Hall, founded to give employment to the strikers put out of work and blacklisted after the strike. "Not one of them is a penny the better for her part in either fight," wrote Molony in her statement to the Bureau of Military History. "In such a manner is the real aristocracy of a country born." Quote, "She was friendly with the family of Thomas MacDonagh and his wife, Muriel, and was the godmother of the daughter Barbara, whose godfather was Patrick Pearse." Describing Liberty Hall, where Connolly spent much of his time, she wrote, "Connolly, after hours, could be free for private visitors. Pearse called many times, also Joe Plunkett and Tom MacDonagh. These men were all intimate friends of mine, so it seemed quite natural for me to encourage them to buy socks and ties from us." In the same account, Molony describes leafleting O'Connell Street, then, on the GPO side, only frequented by British soldiers and the Moes. "Mrs. Elizabeth O'Farrell and Sila Grennan and myself were spotted by police. We took to our heels, and were chased through Henry Street, Mary Street and right up to the markets in Capel Street. We got away clear, as we were young and swift, and the police were hampered by long heavy overcoats. On the whole we feared more the soldiers with the canes." Fianna Éireann, the cadet body of the Irish Volunteers, was founded by Constance Markievicz in Molony's home at 34 Lower Camden Street, Dublin, on the 16th of August 1909. 1916 Easter Rising. Molony was a prominent member of Cumann na MBAN, a Republican women's paramilitary organization formed in April 1914 as an auxiliary of the Irish Volunteers. Members of Cumann na MBAN trained alongside the men of the Irish Volunteers in preparation for the armed rebellion against the English forces in Ireland. During the 1916 Easter Rising, Molony was one of the citizen army soldiers who attacked Dublin Castle. During the attack, her commanding officer, Sean Connolly, was killed, and Molony was captured and imprisoned until December 1916. Later life. After the Irish Civil War, Molony became the second female president of the Irish Trade Union Congress, and Lt. She remained active in the Republican cause during the 1930s, particularly with the Women's Prisoners Defense League and the People's Rights Association. She retired from public life in 1946, but continued to work for women's labor rights. She died in Dublin in 1967.